Mariners broadcaster Gary Hill Jr. joins us from Peoria to reflect on the Mariners offseason and discuss what lies ahead for the Mariners in 2026, as well as Rick Rizzs' final year in the booth, and answer some of your questions coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Ty and Gonzalez. I'm a lifelong Mariners fan who's been covering the team for over half a decade. And today, my co-host Colby and I sit down with Mariners radio broadcaster Gary Hill Jr. And I want to just give you a quick heads up that about halfway through the interview, the audio quality is unfortunately going to get worse. Gary joined us from the stadium today, and they started playing music over the PA system. So to avoid us potentially getting into copyright trouble with YouTube, you know how that goes, I tried my best to remove the background noise, but it did lower the quality of the overall audio. So apologies for that, but it was either that or just cut half of the episode, and obviously I didn't want to do that. Now, before we get into the interview, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBTheShow.com/LockedOn. That's LOCKEDON. Use the promo code Locked On. Again, that's LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now, available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Joining us from the booth of the Peoria Sports Complex today is our good pal, longtime friend of the show, Mariners broadcaster Gary Hill Jr. What's up, Gary?
Hey, guys. How's this going? It's great to see you again.
Yeah, man, it's going well. It's going well. Always great to have you on. So you think after the way things ended in October that this would have been a long, grueling off season, and in some ways it was, because like for us, there was pretty much a 6 to 8 week period where all we talked about was if the Mariners were going to get Brendan Donovan or not. There was really no other content other than that, right? But other than that, you know, partly because the Mariners got deeper into a season than we've ever seen before, I felt like it actually went by pretty quick. And like Colby and I were talking about on our Patreon show yesterday, you know, another big reason for that was what the Seahawks did. I mean, they lost only once after the Mariners got eliminated, and like 30 minutes after that one loss too, the Mariners re-signed Josh Naylor. So that kept us pretty occupied between, you know, then and now. But how was this off season for you?
Yeah, it went really fast for a lot of the reasons you just mentioned. One is you looked up and it was November right off the bat. It was just shorter than normal. And then, you know, the Seahawks, too, the kind of handoff from season to season was pretty great. I think we should try and do that every year because that was spectacular. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But yeah, it was really fast for me. And especially with the Naylor signing right away, it felt like, at least to my perspective, like, okay, the page is kind of turned to this new season, because I think I was like everyone else. Those days and moments after what happened in Toronto it was really tough. It was really hard. And so the Naylor signing for me was like, okay, a nice bit of medicine to try and turn the page to the next year. And as you mentioned, the Donovan trade that we were all talking about forever and ever and ever finally happened right before spring. And I'm really glad it did, obviously. I mean, Captain Obvious statement there, but seeing him with the Mariners, talking to him, it really rams home what a great fit he is for the Mariners. He's a really good player, but I think he's an excellent fit for what the Mariners are trying to do this year. And to me, it really put together the offseason for the Mariners.
Yeah, for me, it feels like they added, in some ways, like another Josh Naylor to the club, right? You know, from just the work ethic to, you know, just the clubhouse presence and all of that, right? And, you know, I texted you when Cal hit that bomb, what was it, like a week ago, after Donovan got on, and it's like, there's the proof of concept right there. There it is, you know, especially like potentially when JP's on the 9 hole, you know, Colby and I have been talking about it. It's more like a 9 through 5 rather than a 1 through 5 in this lineup. And so, you know, JP being that page turner, we know how much he gets on base. Donovan, we know how much he gets on base. those two guys setting the table consistently for Cal and for Julio and for Josh, obviously, like that's going to be incredibly exciting this year.
Oh, it's huge. And it's something that they didn't have last year. They didn't have that guy at the top. And give Randy credit. They put him there, but he's, I think, a better fit in the middle of the order and trying to do damage. Donovan is the perfect set the table guy for this team and get on base. And you look at the past handful of years, and he's been one of the best on base guys in baseball. And so you really dream on what it looks like with him just spraying the ball around and getting on base for Cal and Julio and Naylor and Randy. That top of the lineup has a chance to do a ton of damage. And I think it starts with Donovan. So it's really exciting. It's great that he can move around too. I know he's going to start at third base this year, but the fact that he is versatile, because you never know what's going to happen during the course of the season, the fact that he's comfortable and is the team guy that can say, we need you at second base. Okay, I'll go play second base. That's great. And it's exactly what they need.
Going back to talking about the Seahawks for a second, can you remember a time in the Seattle sports scene felt as connected as it does right now? Because I mean, like, you've got the Kraken wearing Mariners jerseys in Toronto during the ALCS and talking about how they were following the Mariners run. You got the Sounders doing the Mariners win dance after a goal. You got some of the biggest names on the Mariners going down to the Super Bowl to support the Seahawks. I mean, like, to me, it's cool seeing that kind of crossover beyond just the typical like first pitches or guys sitting courtside or what have you.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100%. It was so fun. Aaron and I walked into the hotel in Toronto in the playoffs. And as we were walking in, all these guys were walking out wearing Mariner jerseys. And we realized, oh, this is the Kraken. They're walking out of the same hotel and they're all wearing M's jerseys. It was just a really cool thing to see in person. And yeah, there does the symmetry, the connection. I think Josh Naylor's a big part of that too. And, Cal was at Kraken games and Washington games and all over the place in the offseason. Yeah, I don't remember symmetry like this with everyone being good at the same time too, which is really fun. I think back to kind of the mid-90s when the Sonics were making the run and the Mariners were pretty good. I mean, they were all good at the same time, but it wasn't kind of the same symmetry that you have right now. I mean, the Kraken are fighting for a playoff spot too. The Hawks win the Super Bowl. I think these are the highest expectations the Mariners have ever had going into a season. So it's a really fun time, I think, to be a Seattle sports fan, to say the least.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Colby, what you got for Gary?
Well, you said it, expectations. I mean, it doesn't feel like the expectations have ever been higher for this club. How do you think they're going to handle it? I mean, I know Dan does a really nice job of handling the clubhouse and all that, but it's a different kind of pressure, when you're not the team that's trying to make people respect you. You're the team that is getting the respect and you're the favorite. How do you think they're going to handle that going into this year?
I think they're going to handle it well. They have fully embraced it. They have openly talked about it. They say World Series, they say winning it all. Those are the things they say in conversation. They are not shying away from it. And the expectations are from fan perspective, from front office, coaches, players, like everyone is on the same page with this. I think everyone has the same feeling about the expectations coming into the season, and they've embraced it. And from everything they've said, from the player perspective, they're using last year's fuel as well, because it was a bitter end. And it wasn't the kind of thing where they were happy with how far they went. They felt like they were a team that could go the distance and win it all. And so I feel like they're taking that same thing into this year, which is, I think if you're a fan, is exactly what you want to hear. That's exactly what you want to hear going into a season.
More from our conversation with Gary Hill Jr. in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by MLB The Show 26, TurboTax, and the Space Needle. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking about our sponsor, MLB The Show 26. The greatest game in baseball is back with its newest installment. And let me tell you, baseball fans are going to have a hard time pulling themselves away from this game. Me personally, I can't wait to fire up franchise mode and take the Mariners all the way this year. I mean, I'm going to get Julio that MVP. I'm going to get revenge on the Blue Jays. It is going to be great. Heck, maybe I'll even use some of your trade ideas from Fan Fiction Friday along the way. But listen, if you're a gamer, a baseball fan, or just want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in a new, exciting way, you are going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise players and see if you have what it takes to win your own World Series. Visit MLBtheshow.com/lockedon and use the promo code LOCKEDON, that's LOCKEDON, to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection required. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Look, y'all, tax season doesn't have to take over your life, all right? Because this year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. All you have to do is file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Pie to Pie at the Space Needle is the perfect pregame or pre-funk spot before hitting Climate Pledge Arena. After 4 p.m., the Space Needle's Pint and Pie gives you the whole package. Entry, a sweeter, savory tip-top pie, and a pint of beer, wine, or a non-alcoholic drink, all for just $35 per person. Minimum purchase of 2 required. Pint and Pie is your launch pad to Kraken, Torrent, and Storm games, as well as so many other great events at the CPA. So why not enjoy a little space and a great view while pre-gaming with your favorite cocktail rather than trying to cram into a crowded sports bar? Toast the home team, then roll into Climate Pledge with the best pregame story in all of Seattle. Whether it's date night, friend night, or you're just here for the deal of it all, come take your place on the horizon for only $35 per person. Limited time offer, 21 plus only, ID required. Get tickets at spaceneedle.com. Minimum 2 required. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or tap the link in the description to learn more. Now back to our conversation with Gary Hill Jr. So 50 seasons of Mariners baseball. It's crazy to think about. And obviously the Mariners are doing a lot to celebrate that, including the top 50 Mariners vote. Is there someone or maybe a few players who you think might be like on the fringes of making that top 50 who you'd love to see on there?
Archimedes Pozo, Brick Smith, I think are a couple guys that stand out to me immediately.
Hey, we were trying to figure out like who's like the most random guy we could campaign for and like at least have people kind of take us semi seriously. Okay. And we landed on Fernando Rodney, which is far more recent, but yeah,
it was fun. I do have trouble in, it seems like everyone's going to have the same, I don't know, 30 to 40. Like it's pretty. There's a pretty clear line there. And then to me, it gets, I mean, there's cases to be made on both sides for a lot of different guys. And some of it could be recency. Some of it is, hey, I've only been a Mariners fan for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. So that comes into play. And like some of the guys from the 80s aren't as remembered as much. So I do think there's some interesting debate. Let me turn the question on you. Like who are you looking at? Like who do you think you should be campaigning for in the top 50?
Ty and I did a whole episode when they first came out, and I think we just went through our first time through and we said, hey, like let's just vote for everybody we think should be on this list, and then we'll see how many we had. And I think Ty, we had 62.
Yeah.
Top 50,
we had a lot. So I made my own list, and I think I had like 29 for sure, like locks, and then probably another 20 like probably would make it, and so that's 49 right there. Right? So I pretty much only had like one spot that was like kind of up in the air for me.
I think the tough ones are the players who were here for just a couple of years,
short time.
and or necessarily on like playoff teams. Like it's easy to say like, oh, well, Gino, because, he had the big hit and
the impact,
2 playoff teams and all that.
Yeah.
But like, what do you do with like Randy Winn, who was a really good player, but
on good teams too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, what do you do with Randy Winn? What do you do with, what do you do with guys like,
Mike Zunino was another guy that we talked about.
Mike Zunino was another guy that we were like, probably top 3 or 4 catcher in Mariners history, but top 50 overall. I mean, what do you do with Zunino? He obviously had his problems, but really good player.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of the Randy Wins. I think we talked a lot about like Randy Arozarena, like, is he top 50? I mean, he's only been here for a year and a half.
So the funniest one though, or the most interesting one to me is like, is Josh Naylor going to make the top 50 list already?
It was just up to fans. I think he would.
The vote is just for the fans. So
it's part of it.
Well, it's part of it,
and this is what I'm talking about with recency too, because you look at the Mariners' current team, and I actually think about this in terms of Mariners Hall of Fame. Like, how many guys in this current Mariners era that we're in are going to be Mariners Hall of Famers? And I think the list is pretty long, especially if this run ends at some point with what we all hope it does, with a World Series win or a couple World Series wins and playoff runs and everything else. Like, it would be a golden era of Mariners history. So how many of these guys, Logan and Kirby and Julio, and how long is the list? So to your point, when you're talking about top 50, even though the years aren't there for someone like Naylor, clearly, but the impact has been there. And for Gino, the years aren't there, but the impact has been there in the big moments and getting the Mariners to the big moment. And that's why I think these are so challenging and so difficult. And that's exactly it. It depends on how you weigh things, I think.
Yeah. The other thing too that we debated a lot was like the representation of the first 10 to 15-ish Mariners teams, because like those teams were pretty bad, but I mean there were some bright spots along the way as well.
Langston and Alvin Davis are easy, but
like that's obvious.
Rupert Jones,
Rupert Jones, Rupert Jones was exactly the guy I was going to point to make your point, because he was a really good player for the Mariners with really bad teams, but first All-Star, like he was an important player early on. Langston and Davis are easy too. I think of those two as like the first Mariners stars, I guess. The All-Stars, nationally kind of recognized. I think of those guys as that line. Before that, there were kind of the Bachneys and Jones and some guys like that. But that is challenging, especially as time goes on. Like, how many people saw Rupert Jones play in a Mariners uniform, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy Langston's not in the Team Hall of Fame. That dude was something else. I mean,
he was great.
The Eric Hansen types and all that too. So, but I just don't know a lot about, early 70s or late 70s, early 80s Mariners baseball.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it's tough to vote for those guys,
Right.
Yeah, the thing for Colby and I is like, I was born in 96. My first memories, real memories of watching the Mariners, probably 2001. And Colby, you've said in the past, like, you really started paying attention to baseball around 2000, 2001 as well. So like, that's kind of more so like what we work off of. Like, I didn't really like watch like the prime of Griffey's career, unfortunately. Like, talking about the Sonics.
That's
like
why Ty didn't vote for Griffey to be in the top 50. It was a bold take, but he did it.
Was he really that good? I mean,
Griffey,
it was a different era. but yeah, like, like even with the Sonics, I didn't like the Sonics that I know and love wasn't Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. It was Rashard Lewis and Ray Allen, right? So like, I just kind of come from a different perspective on that. But so like most of our conversations more revolved around the guys that Colby and I watched, and so it's hard, especially like once you get to pre-Griffey era, like who makes it, like, because we really are only going off of kind of just word of mouth from those that had watched those guys and had watched those teams.
Thankfully,
using
there's
the
not
reference page.
People who talk about the 95 team for us. We're well versed on that group.
Yeah, but not enough people talking about the 85 team. So that's what I'll do. I'll talk about Gorman Thomas and the 85. Yeah.
Actually, we were talking about this. Not enough people talk about the 2000 team. Like when we put together our moments list, it was like, man, everybody wants to talk about 95. They want to talk about 01. I mean, rightfully so. I get it. But like that 2000 team was pretty good too. And just like we only had the one moment we could come up with from that season that, we'll probably get to a little bit later. But I do remember, Ty, we had one, not really debate, but we were kind of going back and forth on this. John Olerud and like Tino Martinez. I remember that was one where you and I were like, which one is probably Olerud?
I think they both made it though.
I think they ultimately did, but you got any thoughts on like John Olerud and Tino Martinez there?
Oh, I love this debate. I love both. I think they're both in top 50 for me. I loved Olerud as a player.
Yeah.
I think he was so special. Defensively, offensively, I just loved watching him hit. His approach. I think, when you look back on his career, there's a lot to love about the career he put together. And I know he doesn't get Hall of Fame love, and maybe he's like the very step below that. But man, you look at the doubles, the consistency, the average on base, man, he was good and just a pure hitter. And in that era, especially, watching Olerud and Edgar bat in the same lineup and bat back-to-back at times was just so much joy. Not for pitchers, but for us. Just watching two guys that were just such a pain to pitch to.
Yeah.
And even Edgar at that, he was later on, but still so productive. And both those guys so good. The Tino thing stings because he should have been a Mariner after 95. Like they had to do what they had to do with payroll. So that's why Tino and Jeff Nelson were traded away after that run. But and we saw it in New York. He was such a key part to what the Yankees did in the years after. I mean, he had so many big home runs, had so many big moments. He would have done the same thing in a Mariners uniform. I mean, think about prime Tino in the same lineup following 95 with Griffey and then eventually A-Rod and that crew. Man, that would have been a nightmare for opposition. Yeah. I think Tino was a great hitter, great player. So it's a fun debate. I would take Olerud over the two, but I think both are squarely in the top 50 for me. And I just wish Tino would have had a longer run with the Mariners.
So staying in line with celebrating the 50 seasons of the Mariners, we are currently doing, and also in honor of March Madness coming up, doing a top 50 Mariners moments bracket. And so round one just wrapped up, and most of the matchups pretty straightforward. It was mostly like 60-40 and higher. But we did have one matchup that went right down to the wire. We were at 700 votes, and then I think 782 votes also was the last tie that we had.
I think it was actually 834 was the last tie.
Yeah, we had straight up both 50%. Yeah. Okay. So the matchup was Felix's last game, 2019. Okay. Versus Victor Robles' Superman catch in Houston. So before we tell you who won, because we did get a winner. And by the way, we told the people last week, we were like,
oh man,
we have a guest coming on next week, and if this ends in a tie, you were going to be the tiebreaker.
Oh
Harry.
Boy, good. Yes, that's great. No pressure.
Because Colby and I also fell on separate sides, so we couldn't be the tiebreaker.
Oh,
so
man.
we needed a third party, and we gave you those honors without consulting you first. But
okay, let's talk through this a little bit. Yeah. This one's rough. This is great. So here's how I see this, because I think about that Robles play. I don't know how everyone else thinks about it, but in my mind, it is the stamp on the Mariners winning the division last year. Like if I have to think about a moment, and I know the Mariners didn't technically win the division against the Astros in that 3-game series, but they won the division. And that
was the ripping the soul out of their chest moment. Yeah.
They put it away. And after everything the Mariners have been through against Houston the last few years and all the battles, I mean, it happened last year. They took out the Astros. They vanquished the evil empire in the Houston Astros, right? And to me, that play in my mind is the symbol of that. So that play carries a lot of weight. Like if you remove everything, all Cal's history, right, is its own thing to me. But the image of winning the division in my mind is going to be the pink blur of Robles making that catch. And it's funny. I know most people saw that on television, right? And he just came out of the screen out of nowhere to make that catch. And I'm telling you, it was that way in real life, because you're watching the ball fall and he was literally out of nowhere to make that play. It was jaw dropping. It was incredible. So as you can see, I hold that play in very high regard. On the other side, the Felix final game is absolutely one of my favorite games in Mariners history. One of my favorite
also has
moments.
a great catch involved with it.
As a great catch. And it was, going into that last game, you didn't know how it was going to go. You really didn't. Like, you were hoping beyond hope that you would have a storybook finish, because that's what Felix deserved and what we hope will be a Hall of Fame career, certainly a Mariners Hall of Fame career. And you're hoping against hope, but you didn't know at that point. He could have given up 6 in the first inning and that would have been it. But the way it ended, the emotions, the ballpark, it makes you tear up just thinking about that night.
Yeah.
And, we hang, there's a picture in our radio booth of Felix came out after the game.
Yeah.
And he's standing on the sidewall and he's got his arms out with all the fans behind him. And I look at that photo every day, every single day, because it hangs on our booth. And I think about that night. So you have managed to pit 2 of my
blame Colby for this, by the way.
This is round 1. This is round one.
Yeah.
Oh, this is, I guess.
Now you can see why it was tied through, as many votes as it was.
Yeah. No, I get this. I get why it's tied, because it's tied in my mind too. If you put me on the spot and I had to pick, I think I would pick Felix, because to me, it is the summary of the whole career. It sums up his whole career in my mind. I think about his whole career, his whole time, all the Kings courts. I think about all the fans chanting K, 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 K every time he throws the ball, his changeup, like all of those things, all those emotions well up when I think about that picture in our booth, and I think about that final game. I think about the last time he walks off the mound. I think about all of that when I think about his final game. So maybe that's cheating, because I'm just taking his whole career and putting into one game, which I guess isn't fair against any one moment, but that's why that game holds so much meaning to me.
Yeah.
Well, you picked correctly, because that's the one that did win
by 11 votes.
By 11 votes.
11 whole votes
out of 900. Yeah.
That is a brutal first round matchup.
Our conversation with Gary Hill Jr. continues in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel and Gametime. College basketball is nonstop. I'm talking big games, tight spreads, and momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, you name it. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. So go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. MLB opening day is almost here, and you can feel it. I'm talking fresh starts, big expectations, that first crack of the bat. Oh, we are so back. Whether it's a breakout rookie or a division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being in the ballpark for it. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. You know how it goes. That's where Gametime comes in. The Gametime app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps, and it's simple to use. The Gametime guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. So what you see is what you pay, period. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. Now back to our conversation with Gary Hill Jr. So for those of you watching tomorrow, we're going to go over the round 2 matchups in greater detail and go over the results of round 1 some more. But Colby, I know that you want to throw out a couple of round 2 matchups to Gary here, right?
Oh, nice.
Sure. I mean, just a couple of the ones I think are going to be pretty interesting. So here we have the 16th overall seed versus the 17th overall seed. We have Luis Sojo's Little League Grand Slam in the tie-breaking game of the 95 AL West versus Carlos Guillen's squeeze bunt to advance to the 2000 ALCS.
Yes. So, those are 2 iconic moments.
Yet somehow overlooked, I feel like. So I thought that, by the way, all these matchups completely accidental. I didn't look ahead to do the round 2 matchups to, I just randomly they felt like this. And I think that is just the perfect matchup for round 2.
Yeah.
So before I make my pick, let me say I don't think the Guillen bunt gets enough love because it walked him on. Moved him on in postseason. It was very cool too. Bunt to Frank Thomas, the whole thing was great. But I'm going to pick Sojo because of the larger ramifications, I guess. One, it was a ridiculous play. I mean, it really was a unique and a play that we'll never see again in a massive moment in franchise history. And when I think about that play, the ramifications to me is if that play doesn't happen, maybe we're not talking about Mariners baseball at this point. In all seriousness, that's kind of what that essentially won the game for them and moved them on into the postseason. That wasn't the postseason, right? They had to win that game to move on to the postseason. So that play did it. So when I think about that play and Langston on his back, former Mariner, just the imagery of the whole thing. Yeah. Guillen's close, but I think I'm taking Sojo.
Yeah. So we have here 2 more. We'll just 2 more. We have the Griffeys going back to back versus Griffey's broken wrist catch in '95 to kind of kick off that whole season.
That catch was amazing. We are never going to see father and son go back-to-back in a game again. That is just not going to happen. The fact that they played together is absurd. The fact that they played in the same lineup in it back-to-back is ridiculous. And the fact that they hit homers back-to-back is unreal. Like, I can't believe that actually happened. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. We were talking to Eric Young Jr., first base coach for the Mariners the other day. Yeah. And he and his dad nearly crossed over. They were like 3 years apart. But in spring training, Colorado called him up in a Cactus League game, and he played against his dad, and he got a hit to center field. His dad was a center fielder. His dad pocketed the baseball after the
awesome.
hit. But, that's spring training, and he was still years away. It's just... Yeah. It's so cool that they played together and how everything lined up. And so I think those back-to-backs are amazing.
Yeah. Last one here. We have a matchup of Ichiro moments. Okay. We have Ichiro's Star Wars throw versus Ichiro walking off Mariano Rivera.
Oh, yes. They're both great.
Amazing, iconic Ichiro moments. Quintessential Ichiro moments.
Absolutely. Okay. To me, though, it's the throw. The throw is it. The throw is incredible. To me, that was the That was it. That was the start of everything. That was the Ichiro has arrived. That was the wake up. That was the, whoa, what is this? What do we have here? And it's a moment that if you saw it, you'll never forget it. And when you think about his career and the great moments, that's one at least I immediately think about. I think about that throw. Yeah.
I think that'll be a good one.
That's a good matchup. These are good matchups.
I don't think we're going to have a tie, but I think that'll be a pretty good one. Yeah.
I feel like if any matchup is going to give the Robles Felix matchup a run for its money, it probably will be that one in round 2. But we'll see. Again, like I said, we'll go over that more tomorrow in greater detail. So look forward to that tomorrow. But Gary, so let's get back to this current club now. Clubhouse is a lot more empty with the WBC kicking off. So who's left in camp that you're keeping your eyes on for the next couple weeks?
Well, honestly, for me, spring training, especially with veterans, is just about playing, getting ready for the season, being healthy. I don't care. I never look at stats in spring. I don't think it matters. And for me, like Julio could go 0 for 40. And I would be like, whatever, going into the season. He could go 30 for 40. I'd be whatever. It doesn't matter to me. So I guess it doesn't change for me because I was most interested in looking at the young players anyway. Just watching Cole Emerson, watching Aurelio, watching Cole Young. So for me, it doesn't change because those guys are going to play a ton. Well, Aurelio is out currently too, but he'll be back at some point, probably sooner than the other guys if you look at the matchups. But those are the guys that I'm most interested in watching coming into spring. So that doesn't change in this stretch. And I think Cole Emerson's probably going to end up being close to the leaders and at-bats in the Cactus League. I think we're going to see him play a ton. We've seen him move around at shortstop and third, and he's been really impressive. Just like Aurelio's been really impressive. Like those two guys have been fun to watch so far. And I've been really happy with Cole Young's defense at second base too. That's been something that's interesting. Yeah, it's funny, spring games from our perspective, because we're broadcasting games that don't matter. Like if the Mariners win today or lose today, that doesn't matter in the scheme of things. It doesn't. But interesting things happen during the course of the ball game. And so, when Cole Young makes a nice play at second base or Emerson lasers the ball to center field, like those are interesting and fun things that happen. So those are kind of what I'm looking for. And then every bullpen arm, I'm always watching to see like, oh, is this the guy that's going to be the next one to leap forward, which that's always the mystery. So that's part of it too.
I was telling Colby this yesterday that my only spring training takeaway so far has been, it's been great listening to Rick. It's obviously Rick's final season. I don't know when you found out that was going to be the case, but we all found out, only a few weeks ago. And it's just been incredible, just like putting the game on with you guys and just listening to Rick kind of, go down memory lane and all that. I've just been like really cherishing like every single broadcast and every moment of that and just listening to him. And I have to imagine that you're probably doing the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the great moments of spring so far for me have been in Peoria. Our booth, it's right here. It's right behind me. And you can walk up to it in the stands. We're basically just above the stands here. And so after every single ball game without fail, we've had Mariner fans lining up to the booth just to say hi to Rick, congratulate Rick. Hey, will you sign my ball? Will you take a picture? And that has happened every single game so far this spring. And that has been so enjoyable to watch because he's had a legendary career calling Mariners games. I'm like just about every Mariner fan where I don't know Mariners baseball without Rick Rizzs, right? He has been our companion. He's been our friend every single summer, every single game for years and years and years. And so I'm like everyone else, wrapping my mind around Mariners baseball without Rick. So I'm trying not to think about it. And I'm trying just to enjoy this final year of Rick. This is the final year that we'll have him every day. I think the great thing is he's not going to go away. Like I'm going to I'm going to drag him on the air from time to time. So, like, he is still going to be around. He's going to be at games all the time. He is the greatest ambassador to the Mariners that we have, and he's going to be phenomenal in that role. He just won't have to wake up, land at 4 a.m. in Detroit and call a game later that day. So, his life will be a little better in that regard. But he has certainly earned walking away on his own terms with the career he's put together. And just to see the outpouring of love for him down here, and I know it's going to be the same when we get to Seattle, has been really heartwarming. And that's what I've enjoyed most about spring training so far.
Oh, it's been awesome. I just... If anything, obviously I won a World Series for a multitude of reasons, but especially for Rick. For Rick.
That was part of the heartbreak for me when I've not listened back to the Springer call. I was on the call for that home run. I've not listened back. I got made fun of by Blue Jay fans, so I'm assuming you could just hear my heart break during the call, which is fine, whatever. I broadcast for the Mariners. I don't care what Blue Jay fans say.
I had to deal with a lot of Blue Jay fans during that time as well. Yeah.
So when I think back, the aftermath of that was so devastating, and we were on the bus, just dead silent bus, leaving the ballpark. And the thing that I was thinking about the most is, this is such a heartbreaking moment for Mariner fans being so close, and for Rick too, because I knew this was coming more than most. And so, I was hoping that Rick would get into the World Series. I was hoping Mariner fans would be in the World Series, experience the World Series, because Mariner fans deserve it. I think Mariner fans are the best in baseball. I believe that with my whole heart and soul. And there's nothing Mariner fans deserve more. There's nothing Rick deserves more than seeing this team in the World Series and winning it all, which is why it was so heartbreaking for me last year. And it's why I hope they can finish it this year. It'd be the perfect way for Rick to go out. And man, Mariner fans deserve to pop the champagne more than anything. They deserve it.
Absolutely. So I didn't go to Game 7 because my wallet and my heart couldn't take it. So I stayed home for that one, and thankfully I did that as well, because I don't know if I would have survived that moment. But I was there for, obviously, Game 1 and Game 2. I saw you and Aaron before Game 2, but I was also there for Game 6, and that game did not go particularly well, and as you can imagine, I probably didn't have a particularly great time in the stands around all those Blue Jay fans, especially when Vladdy hit that home run that made it 5-1 or whatever it was. That wasn't fun. But new year, and we can maybe get a little revenge at some point later on down the road. We'll see. But definitely want to get that World Series for Rick more than really anything, because he absolutely deserves it. And like you said, the fan base deserves it, because this fan base it's gone through it all. It's really gone through it all.
They've gone through it all. And I mean, there's reasons to be hugely optimistic this year, I think. I think the American League is wide open, just like I thought the American League was wide open last year. And look what happened. The Mariners were right there at the end. And I think it's the same this year. I don't look at another team in the American League and say, whoa, there's no getting past them. In fact, the playoffs are its own animal. I think anything can happen in a 5 or 7 game series. I think the real key is you control what happens in the regular season. Winning the division, getting a bye. To me, that's where it starts with the Mariners. That's the goal. And then when you get in the playoffs, you've put yourself in the best position. And then it's about, who's playing the best? Who's the healthiest? It's those sorts of things. But the regular season is about the Mariners putting themselves in the best chance. I think they're the favorites in the West. I think they should win the West. I think they're the best team in the West, and that's the place to start.
I think also, going back to something you said very early on in this conversation, getting Naylor done right out of the gate, I think helped a lot. Helped ease the sting a lot of what happened in Game 7, because there was obviously the uncertainty going in the offseason. That was kind of like the extra kick in the you-know-what after the loss, because of, we don't know if Gino's coming back. We don't know if Polo's coming back. We don't know if Naylor's coming back. This could be it for some of these guys, and the roster could look a whole lot different. So getting Naylor done, because you saw the impact immediately that he had on this club and this clubhouse, and I mean, you've seen it now after the signing as well, him rallying the guys, go down to the Super Bowl to support the Seahawks and all that. He's really taken over as one of the guys in that clubhouse. And it's crazy because like I don't think I've ever seen a player immediately, like in just a few months' time, go from newcomer to like one of the guys, like one of the alphas on a club that already had, you know, a few alphas on it.
I've marveled at the whole Naylor situation. His instant connection with a fan base is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Fans took to him, and he took to the fans in no time at all. And I truly believe, I was talking about this. Mariners are playing the Diamondbacks in spring a couple of games ago, and I was thinking about the Naylor situation and just, you know, baseball's such a funny game. There's so many alternate universes that if one thing happens, a domino effect, you never know. But what if Arizona would have been in contention last year, which they should have been, and don't trade Naylor at the deadline? Does he end up signing with the Mariners in the offseason? Maybe, but maybe not, because it really felt like last year's impression that the fans made and his teammates made and the whole situation, it really motivated him to say, I want to be here, and which is why he signed immediately. And he is so critical, I think, to everything the Mariners are trying to do, both his production, clearly, in the middle of the lineup. He's such a great fit for what the Mariners want to do and his approach and his skill set, but also the edge he plays with. I think that really helped. I think in a clubhouse, you need a little bit of everything, right? I think it's good to have a little everything. And so that edge, I think, is great. I think Donovan brings some of that as well. I think you alluded to that before. Naylor and Donovan have, they're alike in a lot of ways, including more alike as hitters than people probably expect. Naylor has a little more power, but they're pretty similar just in terms of you look at their approaches and, you know, strikeout rate and all that sort of thing. But I think that was such a key to the beginning of the offseason. I think you're 100% right. And it's hard to imagine if Naylor had signed somewhere else, what they could have pivoted to that would have equaled or been better than Naylor at first base. He's just a great fit. And I do, Donovan's a great fit, and I do like that they kept a spot open for a young player to pop, because I do think you need to make sure that you're developing the next guys coming up, because they have talented guys that I think are going to help probably sooner rather than later and can be better than some other veterans that you could bring in while they develop as well, if that makes sense. And I think it's important to keep a spot open to try and keep that moving, because that's how you sustain things. You just got to keep producing your own talent.
And Josh Naylor to me is like baseball personified. I mean, the guy's like, what, second percentile in sprint speed, and he stole 30 bags, right? Because he's just so, like, he just has amazing reads. He's such a smart player, like smart defensive player over at first. Like his footwork, it's really like second to none. Like just watching his footwork over there is just so fun to watch. And you notice it like immediately. Like I think we talked about this after just the first few games there in Sacramento and Anaheim. Like, oh, he's a difference maker over at first base as well. The thing that really stuck out to me, I forget who this might have been in a conversation with you and Shannon, but Justin Hollander talked about when they went to go meet with Josh, you know, when they were figuring out if they were going to resign him and whatnot. And he like brought his own like reports of like how, you know, like his view of like the prospects coming up and all of that. Like this guy is just, he loves ball, clearly. Like he just loves baseball.
I think one of the highest compliments you can give to a guy is he's a ball player. I think that's one of the highest compliments you can give. He's a ball player. That's exactly it. He prides himself too in helping out the kind of, as he puts it, the 0 to 3 year guys, you know, the guys that are trying to establish himself. That's not a small thing. That's been a really impressive part, I think, of this team. We see it with Cal too. He was out there with, you know, he's helping out Stevenson, the young catcher, you know, the other day, like side by side with him as he's catching a bullpen. Like that's not necessarily normal stuff for organizations, right? But it is. It's the norm here for the Mariners. And I think part of it is, you know, Cal and Naylor, they know they're going to be here long term. And they know that a lot of these guys can really help now and in the future, right? And so I think it's smart to try and help these guys establish themselves as quickly as possible. I always thought it was so funny. Like the baseball culture used to be like you shun rookies or you haze them or, treat them differently. And it's like, you guys are looking at this all wrong. I like that we're in this era where, hey, man, these guys can help you right now. They can help you win games right now and get to the postseason. And who knows what Colt Emerson is going to do this year? Like he probably won't start the year on the 26th man, but there's a good chance he could help along the way. Why not do everything possible to try and help him along the way? And that's what JP does. That's what Naylor does. I just think it's such a great mindset to have. And it's an inclusive mindset where everyone feels part of it, no matter if you've been here for 5 minutes or you've been here for a decade.
Colby, you got anything for Gary? We got some listener questions coming up. Before we do that, you got anything?
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. That's a great song on behind you there. But
hopefully it's not too loud.
CCR, man.
We're getting closer to game time.
Yeah.
Fly on in. This is great.
Yeah. So I could ask you about Cal. I could ask you about Julio, Randy. But I'm going to ask you about one of my favorite players instead. What have you seen from Luke Raley? Is he healthy? He looks healthy so far in camp. I mean, he's
sitting
kind of a big
lefties
X
right now
factor for this club. So
yeah.
What do you think about Luke and where he's at right now?
So Luke Raley, I am hoping and thinking when I get asked the question all the time, like I am thinking Luke Raley bounce back here. I think he had a really good season 2 years ago with the Mariners. A season I think was kind of went under the radar a little bit. If he was that guy again, you think about in this current lineup, wow, I think the Mariners would really have some. Like, what if he popped 20, 25 home runs and played a really good right field and batting sixth or seventh in the lineup?
That's a good way to make up for the loss of Polo and Tino.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I'm really bullish on Raley. Like, I think that platoon in right field with Raley and Robles could really be a productive platoon. I'm excited about it because I think Raley's a really good player. I think he just had his season torpedoed by injury last year, which happens. Unfortunately, you get a major injury and it's even coming back. He just never really himself after that. So I'm excited for that. I think his defense in right field is necessary too. So I'm hoping that he's healthy and productive and that we see him out there because I think, there are questions about exactly what we'll see from the bottom of the lineup. I think we're all excited about the top five and what that can bring. But if you get a bounce back from Raley, if JP can be what he was last year, man, that lineup gets long fast and it gets really tough to pitch to. And those are the kind of guys you're looking at. What Canzone and Refsnyder, what is that platoon going to look like? I think Refsnyder's simply been one of the best hitters against lefties in baseball. What if Canzone is closer to last year, right? What if he is? What if that's him? I don't know. That's one of the things we don't know. But what if he is? And you're talking about a really, really good offense if that's the case. If you got Raley and Canzone coming along for the ride. So I'm with you. I'm really excited about Raley and really optimistic about his season this year.
So, Gary, we got a few listener questions here. We got one here from Nick who says, as a career kitchen worker, radio broadcasts are absolutely essential to me being able to enjoy live baseball. Can you speak to what the radio call means to people? What drew you to that? Rick's retirement has been easier to swallow with you and the Wings. Big Gary fan here.
Oh, that's very kind. I have been in love with the radio since I was a small kid. I've told this story before. I grew up playing baseball. I love baseball, but listening to Rick and Dave when I was small sparked the passion of radio and baseball on the radio for me. And so from the time that I can remember when I was small, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a Seattle Mariners play-by-play announcer. That was always my answer. I wanted to be on the radio because it was Rick and Dave that did it. And I remember falling asleep every night with my little clock radio next to me with the broken volume button knob and just listening to the games as I fell asleep. And that's what it was. It's always been about that for me. And so that's why, this year with Rick retiring, I feel it just like the fans feel it because I was you. I listened to Rick growing up. Now, he changed my career path. So he doesn't do that for everybody, but but listen to him, changed what I wanted to do with my entire life. So it's my honor to be next to him during his final year. And it's so special to me. It's hard to put into words as someone who's wanted to do this my entire life and am now here every day. It's so fun. I get to talk to you guys about the Mariners and get to interact with fans about the Mariners. This means so much to me, and I take the responsibility of it very seriously because I love Dave. I love Rick. Yep. I think the tradition of Mariners radio is unlike any other. So I take that responsibility more seriously than you could possibly imagine. Like, I have fun. It's great. It's fun. But that part and the connection to fans, I think, means so much because all of us, you connect. Like, I connected with Rick. He's everywhere. Like, you're driving in the car. You're doing errands. You're at the backyard barbecue with family. Mm-hmm. You go everywhere in the summer with people. And, yep. I talk about all the time with Rick, if you've never met him, it doesn't matter. You know him because you've heard him forever. And he's the same exact guy that you hear every single day. So you may have never met him before, but you know him. And I think that's what baseball on the radio does.
Sad PNW sports fan wants to know. Still, right?
Still sad.
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good the last year.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that's exactly accurate right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they want to know what's your favorite and least favorite part of spring training? Got to be an interesting experience as a commentator.
Yes, it is. So I think these are the most challenging games that we do all year, which may sound weird to people. It's like, wow, wouldn't the playoffs be? It's like, no. I think, like, easy is not the word, but playoffs, you think about it, every pitch matters so much. You can just live in that moment. You're living and breathing with every single pitch because the magnitude is all that matters, right? Spring training, if there's a scale and the playoffs are a 10, well, spring training's a 1. Because when the Mariners take the field today, if they win or lose, doesn't matter, right? Mm. And there's going to be people shuttling in and out of the ball game, right? There's going to be guys that are working on things. There's going to be pitchers on the mound that may throw like 4 changeups in a row. I mean, there's so many things that happen in a spring training game that would never happen in a regular season game. So the challenge to me is finding the balance of passing on some information. It's why I spend most of my time, and the most valuable thing of spring training to me is actually not the games. It's at the complex, just talking to guys, right? It's a relaxed atmosphere, and it's time where I can sit down with Brendan Donovan for 20, 30 minutes and really get to know him as a person. We talk about the baseball stuff, which is great. We talk about him as a person, the background, and I try and do that with as many people as possible. And so that's why I try and bring to spring games, is to get a better feel. Fans can get a better feel for like who they are as people. It's, I think the thing I enjoy the most is like watching Cole Emerson play, because I don't get a chance to see him ever play. I'm following the Mariners every day, right? And I hear about him. Like, I'll talk to him via video during the season, but I don't get a chance to watch him play. So the most fun is like, oh, this is what Arroyo's all about, right? This is what Emerson's all about. And then going and talk to him for 20 minutes and kind of getting the feel for them before hopefully they make it to the Mariners. So that's what I look forward to the most. But doing these games, this isn't a complaint, but it is a challenge because of the nature of, win or lose, whatever. Stats. Like, you'll never hear me talk about a batting average, home runs down here, because and all you have to do, if you just watch some spring games in a row, you realize this quickly. There are so many variables in every one of these, whether it's the sun or the wind or the double-A guy on the mound, or maybe it's all of a sudden Mason Miller comes out of the bullpen and that's who you're facing. It is all so random.
Wasn't that crazy? First spring game of the year though, and it's Mason Miller versus Cal Raleigh. Like, yes, February 20th. Like, we're back already. All right, cool.
Yeah. So once in a while doing these games, there are these little glimpses of like, oh, I don't care that this game doesn't count. Like, the Miller-Cal matchup is amazing. when the Mariners were playing the Royals and we saw Munoz against Witt, like, I don't care that this is an exhibition. This is super cool. As Munoz throws 100 by Witt. I mean, this is amazing. Yeah. So we do get moments like that, which is great.
All right, our last listener question comes from Josh. What is Gary's order at Stella's?
Give me the biggest calzone possible. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the biggest. That is such a great question. I haven't been back in a while too, so that's sad. I got to make that happen.
So
excellent.
We always get asked about what to do down in Peoria, but Colby's been down there only like a handful of days, and I've only ever stopped by there for like a day and a half back in 2023. So we don't have great answers for that. So for our listeners who might be heading down there sometime in the next couple of weeks, what would you recommend?
Okay. First of all, get to, if it's a 1 o'clock game, get to the backfields like 10:30, 11-ish, and just walk around back there, because you can get really close to watching bullpens, watching BP, watching guys just work. And you get really close to watching Cal and Julio and all these guys doing their thing, which is very unique. You don't get that view anywhere else than down here. So that's one thing I would recommend. Just go to a ball game, be in the sunshine, have a cold beverage. Like, you got to do that. From a fan perspective, it's pretty great down here, especially going through a Seattle gray, rainy winter. Like, this is great. So from a fan perspective, do that. And there's a ton of stuff to do outside. Like, after every game, I like to do a hike. There's hikes everywhere. I have a favorite spot near every ballpark down here. So there's a lot of fun outdoor stuff to do. Just enjoy being outside in the sun as much as possible. But yeah, there's a ton to do. There's a lot of great restaurants. So yeah, come down here with family, friends. You're guaranteed to have a good time.
Well, Gary, it's always such a pleasure talking with you, and give our best to Rick and the crew there, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, I will. Can't wait. We're getting closer and closer.
All right, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you again to Gary for joining us today, and thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty and Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty and Gonzalez, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.